2369 Fine thread. Once again, Sunny gave Kai and Slayer one jade beast figure each, to be sacrificed to the Shrine of Truth. Everything happened as it had happened before. After being placed on the altar, the figures turned to ash and were absorbed by them. A second ring was added to the one already encircling their soul cores. Well, a soul core in the case of Kai. In the case of Slayer, though, Sunny was not entirely sure what to call the radiant ember at the heart of her unfathomably dark self. A shard of a core in a shadow of a soul, possibly. Looking at it, he remembered what Uri's had told him once. That his shadows were not entirely complete. If there was a way to complete them, Sunny did not know what it was. Or if there was a need or a benefit to completing them. All he knew was that Slayer had been complete before being slain by his blade, but now, she was a part of him, just like the rest of his shadows. Another mystery to solve, one day. The second ring of ash made Kai and Slayer much stronger. It also allowed Sunny to imbue them with far more of his will, enough so that he would not worry about sending either of them into a battle with great nightmare creatures. As for the cursed ones, well, Sunny himself was not too confident when facing those. With how much his companions were enhanced by his will, however, they would at least be able to help him take the cursed ones down. Their arrows would not bounce off the flesh of those fallen gods without leaving a scratch. That's something. That was quite a boon, actually. The shadows of the wolf and its pack were resting in his soul now, as well. As long as Sunny could summon the shade of the sacred demon into existence, his small army was going to become tremendously more powerful. Still, he studied the third jade figure, the snow demon figure, which was left laying on his palm. He wanted to become stronger, as well. 5 of the snow tyrant's abominations had already fallen by his hand, including 3 cursed ones, but instead of making him feel secure, the experience of those battles only made Sunny feel trepidation. The battle against the wolf had been a close one. He had triumphed in the end, and it was quite a spectacular victory. And yet, nobody knew better than Sunny how easily he could have lost his life instead. How was he going to fight a cursed devil? There was a qualitative jump in power between monsters and demons, because demons were sapient. But there was just as significant of a jump between demons and devils, because devils wielded profane and distressing powers. What was he going to do when a fallen deity unleashed its powers against him? What if that deity was accompanied not by beasts, but by monsters? Or even creatures of a higher class? So, Sunny was not going to refuse more power. That said, he also wanted to learn the truth. Whatever boost he could receive from sacrificing the snow demon figure to the Shrine of Truth was bound to be if not insignificant, then at least marginal. Kai and Slayer could borrow his will with the help of Ash, but what would Sunny borrow? At most, his strength would somewhat increase. Knowledge, on the other hand, was the origin of all power. It was none other than Weaver himself who had said it, so, learning a useful truth could actually give him far more power than sacrificing a figure would. Or not, I've decided. Sunny sighed. I think I am going to toss this thing into the lava. Kai, who had been drawing his bow to get used to his newfound strength, glanced at him briefly. Whatever you think is best. Then, he lowered the bow and looked at him properly. There was a peculiar expression on Kai's face, not quite a frown, but something similar to it. Sunny raised an eyebrow. What? Kai remained silent, for a bit, then shook his head. No, nothing, it's just, that demon. Did you see anything peculiar when fighting it? Sunny blinked a few times. That demon was an eldritch god, everything about it was peculiar. What do you mean exactly? Kai hesitated a little, then shrugged. It's just, I think I saw something when I was fighting the brass giant. Helping that worm of yours fight him, I mean. His expression soured a little at the mention of abundance, prompting Sunny to grin. What is this I'm sensing? A bit of repulsion toward abundance. Come on now, Kai, it is just a worm, a truly enormous, sacred worm. Actually, it is practically a WYRM. Dragons and worms are kin, so doesn't that sort of make the two of you siblings? Kai shuddered. No worm is a sibling of mine, thank you very much. Please don't say such awful things, Sunny. Sunny laughed. Well, all right, no need to be so offended. In any case, what was it that you saw? We both know how special your sight is, Kai, so don't make the mistake of underestimating it. Sunny was higher in rank than Kai and vastly more powerful, but that did not mean that he was superior to his friend in all regards. In terms of perception, for example, Kai was far ahead of him, or anyone else, really. So, Sunny was inclined to take whatever Kai had seen seriously. Kai lingered for a while, frowning, then said finally. During the battle, a few times, I thought I saw something glistening in the air behind the giant. But every time I tried to take a closer look, there was nothing there. I would decide that I saw wrong, only to be distracted by that shine again later. Eventually, he paused for a moment, then added. I thought that I noticed a silver thread extending from his back and disappearing into the distance. It was so thin and fine as to almost be non-existent, so even I could not see it clearly. Then, it was gone in the blink of an eye, so I can't be sure that I did not simply imagine the whole thing. The battle was quite hectic, after all. Sunny remained silent for a while, looking at him. Didn't you say that there was something strange about all the snow abominations? Could they have strange threads extending from their backs as well? Sunny himself had not seen or sensed any threads. But if these strings were as infinitely thin as Kai had said, there would be no shadows left by them on the ground, and therefore, there would have been nothing for him to sense. It sounded quite suspicious, though, summoning imagery of puppets being pulled by puppeteers' strings. The snow tyrant had to be controlling its figures somehow, so Sunny responded to that imagery strongly. Kai shrugged. I don't know. Sunny let out a sigh. Keep an eye out for these threads in the days to come, then. If you do notice another, let me know. With that, he headed away and left the temple. Walking over to the edge of the platform, Sunny glanced across the lake of lava. The heat here was almost unbearable, so he did not loiter around and directly tossed the jade figure into the lake. As it was swallowed by bubbling lava, he took a few steps back and sat down. Let's see. Sunny concentrated on the questions he wanted answered the most, hoping that it would affect what truth he received this time. How had the world ended? How had the gods died? What had Weaver? Then, suddenly, he was somewhere else. 2370 A cruel fate. The mountains had collapsed, creating a vast valley. The green slopes had turned into a brown desert of crushed rock, and now, the desert turned into a red river. The red cloaks of the imperial soldiers were like a crimson tide as they marched forward, sunlight glistening on the tips of their spears. Far above the sea of marching warriors, a hawk was gliding on the gentle winds. It opened its beak and let out a cry, then moved its wings to fly away. It was just in time. A moment later, a golden arrow flashed past it, tearing the sky apart. The hawk folded its wings and plummeted down, then spread them again to glide and escape the cold gaze of the unseen archer. It flew away, across the rolling hills of olive trees and beautiful cities. Across the wine-colored sea with islands where vibrant flowers bloomed among white rocks. Across deep forests teeming with wildlife, where holy beasts rested in the shade of emerald canopies, deep quarries where precious marble was being mined, and tranquil shrines. Across a peaceful realm that was about to be devoured by the jaws of war. Eventually, the hawk reached a vast city that sprawled around a tall hill and landed in the courtyard of a humble manor, turning into a woman who wore a deer hide around her shoulders. Her olive skin was covered in sweat, and her breathing was labored, her face showing fatigue from having crossed such a great distance in such a short time. My lady, handmaidens rushed to offer her water and fresh fruit, their eyes gleaming with awe and veneration. The woman drank deeply from a beautifully painted amphora, then waved the young girls away. When she looked at them, her own eyes became full of sorrow for a brief moment. Then, she hid her sorrow away. No time for that. Where is the prince? I must see him. The handmaidens looked at each other, prompting her to frown. What is it? They looked in the direction of the hill, where an ancient temple stood, its white pillars weathered from the passage of time. It is the oracle, you have been summoned. The prince, as well. The woman sighed bitterly, then wiped the water off her lips. Now they are speaking, huh? She closed her eyes for a few seconds, then straightened and looked at the young handmaidens one more time. The girls giggled in embarrassment under her gaze, which made the woman's face harden. Turning away, she left without looking back. The atmosphere in the temple was peculiar when she arrived. It stood empty most of the time, but now, there were people. She recognized most of them. There was a noble young man with calm and wise eyes. A boy with red hair, an unusual color in this land. A scholarly woman with a long black braid, her graceful beauty both subtle and bewitching. There was also a tall warrior with broad shoulders, his towering height making the others seem puny. A slender man in elegant clothes who looked like a sculptor. A ship captain whose rough skin had turned bronze in the sun, his eyes the same color as the sea. A blind poet whose songs were renowned across the realm. A woman who was either a priestess or a courtesan, or possibly both. Each and every one of them, except the boy, was famous for one reason or another. Some of them were immensely powerful, while some were only slightly so, but all were outstanding. All in all, it was a peculiar crowd of people. As the woman wearing a deerskin around her shoulders arrived, there were now 9 of them. She looked at the gathering with a frown, but chose to say nothing. The warrior spoke, instead, his booming voice echoing under the roof of the ancient temple. "What news?" The woman responded curtly. "It is as we expected. The Imperials are already on the match." The warrior clicked his tongue. "Curses! I should be gathering citizens into an army, not wasting my time here." The noble young man looked at him calmly. "We were summoned." Despite the difference in their height, the tall man seemed taken aback. He lowered his head. "I am sorry, my prince. I spoke out of turn." Soon, they were ushered into the inner sanctum of the temple. There, 3 figures sat behind a veil. A young girl, a mature woman, and an old hag. All 3 of them were blind, but saw much more than anyone with sight could. They were the oracle. The young man kneeled before them. "I, Ures, greet you. We have arrived to answer your call." The 3 women smiled and responded, their 3 voices becoming one. "Greetings, brother. Greetings, my son. Greetings, child." The young man, Prince Ures, took a deep breath. "Our homeland is in grave peril, O oracle. And so, we beseech you, please, show us how to save our realm." The young girl said sad. The woman stayed motionless. The old hag laughed. "Have you finally learned manners, naughty child?" The young man stayed silent for a few seconds, then repeated his words. "We beseech you." The young girl moved, as if wanting to cross the veil and touch him, but the woman held her back. She turned her head to face the kneeling prince, and then said calmly, "I am sorry, my son. But that is not why we called you." The 8 people staying behind the prince paled, while the prince himself pursed his lips. The 3 women continued, their voices fusing with each other. "This land of ours cannot be saved. The tapestry of fate is vast, but it is also cruel. The empire won't be stopped. Our cities will burn. Our people will be enslaved. Our kingdom will fall, its very name forgotten. We cannot stop it." But there was a second of silence before the oracle spoke again. "We can avenge ourselves. The 9 of you can. The 9 of you will. The empire of war must be destroyed." The prince looked up at the oracle, his eyes full of darkness. Eventually, he looked down. "My, oh my, how can 9 people destroy an empire? It is protected by a god." There were a few moments of silence, and then the little girl leaned forward. Her childish voice sounded in the silence of the ancient temple, echoing under its roof. "Then you must kill the gods.